When topics become emotional, it's critical that emotion doesn't take over. So I'm going to talk to you today about what I call the rational passionate voice, which is moving out of an emotive state, which is reactive, right? Bah! To a responsive and a receptive state, which is, I see. Let me think about that. Or advocating for yourself and saying, I don't agree with this because of X, Y, and Z, which are grounded in fact and rational thought, basically. So the rational passionate voice is a self-facilitation method for organizations to overcome changes, right? Uh, all change outside of the main direction of an organization causes disruption. Always does. If we know we're going to Las Vegas and we do a little side departure on the route to Las Vegas to grab beef jerky or a drink or what have you, that's okay because you're still on the way to Vegas. But if you're on your way to Vegas and suddenly you turn and you're on your way to Albuquerque, that's a significant change of direction. And everybody who's in the vehicle are going to go, wait a minute, I don't want to be Daffy Duck and make a left turn in Albuquerque, mister. No. So it causes problems. The rational passionate voice is a way of bringing those voices together into affinities and giving them an expression that they otherwise feel they don't have. So removing the emotion. Once you feel heard, look, all emotion really does. The more a person has an emotional response to a situation, would you like to go get ice cream? No! Whoa, wait a minute. You usually say yes, and it's usually yes. Why no? No! Wait, okay, what's really going on? It's probably not ice cream, right? The stronger the emotional response without coherent information, reason for why you're having the emotional response, it limits understanding for those who are around that person, right? So when we see somebody who's in a responsive state or a raw emotional state, we see that they're not behaving rationally. It's not that they're crazy, it's that they need to be heard. That's really what's going on, is that the greater the emotional response, the more important it is that that person should be heard. They've got something to say. They're just having difficulties finding the right words to express their fears, risks, or concerns around the safety of whatever it is that you're attempting to do. So once raw emotion comes into play, it destroys the ability to understand things. When we consider that emotion is what fuels passion, right? And this is my favorite thing to think about, is that emotion really is what fuels passion. For those of you who've been looking at that screen as a distraction, let me remove it for you at this time. And I don't know if there's copyright issues or what have you, but there, now it's off. And that can be edited out. I don't know what my mark is. I think it's here. This feels natural. So anyway, when we understand that emotion is what fuels passion, you can either be like the sun, and all the emotion is pouring out, or you can be like a laser and focus it, and focus that passion, right, into an implement, into a tool that you can then use either to pierce the darkness or cut through obstacles or whatever the case might be. But now you have the rational, passionate voice. You've moved from the emotive to the advocate. So how do we do this? We have to foster an environment that supports this. Okay, that's critical, right? Without the proper environment, it's not going to work. And you get that environment through what I call the transparent frame, which is ensuring that there are some core values that are always at work whenever change comes up. Compassion, empathy, understanding, and oh, there's a fourth. They're all in the transparent frame, and we're going to see it in just a little bit because I'm going to have a little blurb pop up on the screen. It's what I do. It's my format. It's my shtick, if you will. Anyway, I'm giving the new microphone a workout. So understanding that raw emotion means that we're afraid of not being heard. The greater the emotion, the more fear there is, the less coherent the message becomes. If we can give space to allow those people who feel the same way to gather together and talk about it. Now they're not alone, right? So that's the first thing to ever feeling better about a situation, is not being alone. So now I know other people feel this way. Now, if I am alone, that's an outlier. We'll deal with outliers in a whole different segment at some point if you remind me about it. However, quickly, now there's these affinity groups, and there's a lot of different facilitation tools that we're going to talk about that aid this, right, in other segments, right? The Fist of Five, what I call Roman Bow, which is the Roman vote, emotion maps. There are other things that we can do, right, to allow these affinities to quickly gather, have that conversation, and find their common voice. This is the critical piece, is that they find a common voice. 5 different emotional sets brought together to express the same problem must put their emotions away. We understand that their emotional set is the same. That removes the emotion from play, or it fuels the conversation as its passion. See? Now, guaranteed, however many different affinities that you have of concerns or people who are happy. There could be a huge segment of people who are like, woo, we're in, yay! I don't understand why they don't want to go swimming in the crocodile-infested water. It sounds fun, right? So however many different affinity groups that you have across the topic, they all find their voice. Guaranteed, just like with music, there's going to be somebody in one affinity group who can relate to another person, probably in the closest proximity affinity group, and can communicate the differences between the two, bringing greater understanding and bringing them all together. So in time, this is like nature, right? This is like watching water move through osmosis, right? It gets pulled, it finds its level, and then there's the average. That's where it sits, right? And if you ever seen water in a tube, there's a meniscus, right? That meniscus is the hydrostatic pressure that pulls the water up the sides of the glass. I can't believe I remember this from Marine Corps. And it leaves a beveled surface on the inside, right? And those are the outliers, right? That stuff on the outside that's pulling up are the outliers. What's in the middle is the average, and that's what you're after in the Agile world, which is I can live with and support this change. It's really what you're after. All right, thank you. This is the intro to the details of everything about the rational, passionate voice. Once again, I'm Jesse Perlman. If there's anything I ever talk about that you want to have a greater conversation around, please drop a comment. If you want a copy of any of the decks that you see, or any of the slide or the memeware or whatever we call it nowadays, let me know. I'll send it to you. I got no problem with that. That's the beautiful thing about ideas. They're free, right? You never know what you say that may inspire someone else that will actually change the world. Bye.